Hello and welcome to another episode of Film Freakz with a Z, the podcast about movies. Each episode is about a single movie, and we'll get to that episode with that movie in a little bit. Of course, I gotta invite you, the listener, to suggest movies for the fan vote. It happens during Tay's episode, so if you want to get a movie in for the vote, do that before the next one airs in about 2 weeks. If you want to suggest a movie, either send us an email at ff.filmfreaks with a Z at the end at gmail.com or comment on the latest episode of Film Freaks on YouTube, or stop on by the Ferret Nation Discord, link in the description, and you can suggest a movie there. Remember, the votes are only happening in the Discord, so if you want to vote, join the Discord. And if you do join the Discord, say something so we don't kick you because you are possibly a bot. I have exciting news, folks, before we get started. Drum roll, please. Callus sent an email to the Film Freaks Gmail account.
Oh my
Shut
God.
up.
It's
Callus.
finally at, he broke the Gmail's virginity. He did it.
Wow.
I
bet
got
that
sick
felt
of
great.
us saying something every movie or every podcast.
All right.
Wow. Go, Callus.
So we'll know what his movie is next episode when Tay's
Two
no,
episodes.
not Tay, not 2 episodes ago for now. During Tay's
Yeah, we
episode
said- Find out in 2 weeks. I'm like, maybe 4 weeks.
4. You got time if you want to. So just a movie. All right, let's introduce ourselves before we talk about the movies. I am YemmytheFerret, and I'm here with.
GreedyWaffles.
Taymation.
RaeofPositivity.
We have some cleanup from last episode. We watched Kung Fu Panda, but Ray wasn't here for the review.
I was stressed.
Do you
That's
have any thoughts about Kung Fu Panda that you would like to share before we get into The Revenant?
One word.
Well,
Skadoosh.
it's good.
Well,
I love that movie.
Good.
Yeah.
I think most of us were positive on it.
Yeah. It's cute. I actually hadn't seen it since until last year is when I was introduced to it. So it's good. I liked it. Love Jack Black.
Did you have a score for it?
Oh. You know, it's hilarious. I didn't even think about it, but I'm gonna give it a solid 3.5 out of 5.
Oh, okay. We're on the same page.
Nice. Yeah, I thought it was very, very cute. It's a very cute, cheeky movie.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Now that that's taken care of, and don't worry, Ray. It's par for the course. We usually have one person missing. I would say it's more rare that that all of us are here together for a guest podcast episode.
I remember you saying that, and I was like, "Dang it, I'm the one."
The tradition continues.
I'm pretty sure I went to bed at like 8 o'clock that night. Like I was done with everything.
Well, you know
Should've
who
just
else
had
should have
some
gone to
noodles.
bed at about 8 o'clock?
Ooh.
Hugh Glass. I don't know. This is a terrible transition.
Yeah, that was horrible. That wouldn't have mattered.
We're talking about The Revenant. The Revenant from 2015 today. I learned how to say the director's name last episode, and I kind of forgot. Directed by Alejandro Gonzalez Inarritu. I think I got it.
Nice.
Sure.
And the short synopsis is in the 1820s, a frontiersman, Hugh Glass, sets out on a path of vengeance against those who left him for dead after a bear mauling. And it stars the Oscar-winning Leonardo DiCaprio, Tom Hardy, Domhnall Gleeson, Will Poulter, and plenty more.
This is the movie that gave him the Oscar.
This
isn't
is the movie that gave him the Oscar. That is correct.
Yeah.
A lot of people say he should have gotten for The Wolf of Wall Street, but that is either here or there. The Oscars likes to, like, if they miss a movie or someone has like just a long tenure of acting that they haven't won an Oscar, so they'll just throw them a bone sometimes. Last year with Everything Everywhere All at Once, it was
Michelle.
No, not Michelle Yeoh.
No, what's the guy? The
no,
husband.
yeah, well, him and
Oh, Jamie Lee Curtis.
yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis both
That's
got
right.
awards, and Jamie Lee Curtis is, that was a long time coming, obviously, and obviously it wasn't like her, like, it's a great performance, but it's not like her best performance, and the same thing with
Yeah.
Leonardo DiCaprio, where he's had
Yeah.
amazing performances, like in The Wolf of Wall Street, Inception,
Django?
Unchained, The
Yeah.
Departed, Titanic. Like, there's a whole list of movies here that he's done a great job acting in, and they're like, you know what, for this movie, The Revenant, that's the one you're doing. And it's pretty much because he had to, like, he
Going hard.
Act like he was being mauled by a bear that wasn't there.
right, but like to prepare for the role, he had to like become really skinny and malnourished, and the conditions that they were filming in, obviously, it was all on location. There was really no sets to the movie at all. So the hypothermia and stuff that could have set in if he wasn't taken care of. Luckily, he had that horse to sleep in that one night, so he's okay.
Yeah.
But
I honestly think that got him the Oscar there. I mean, if I remember correctly, it was just something I probably saw online, but
I think you're
how
right.
that happens. But
I
they're
mean,
like, oh my god, he slept in a horse. Let's give him the Oscar.
it's not a real. I mean, it's not a real horse.
I mean, where was Mark Hamill's for sleeping in a tauntaun, huh?
Right.
Man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's kind of where we should start, is Leonardo DiCaprio's performance, since it is the Oscar-winning performance for him.
Yeah.
And
I think it's funny that he finally won the Oscar, and he doesn't talk much in this movie at all.
At all.
Yeah, at all.
Yeah.
it's a lot of
Well,
Hey,
physical
shut up.
performance.
Let's give him the Oscar.
No, and honestly, and this, probably this will be another topic that we'll bring up later, is, he really didn't look like Leonardo DiCaprio. Like in his
He
other
didn't.
movies, you're like, oh yeah, that's Leonardo DiCaprio. In this movie, I was like, that's Leonardo DiCaprio. Like, and I think that's why, like Yemmy said, he did a lot of work and a lot of prep into getting himself this role in the movie.
Yeah, like even the cover for the movie, that's just his face. Like at first glance, you wouldn't recognize that was Leonardo unless you knew before going in. We're looking at it,
Yeah, and I think that goes into a lot of makeup and just overall costume, not costume, but
Well, yeah, I mean, costume design goes into it. I mean, makeup and stuff like that. But because like any other movie that you see Leonardo on the front of, whether it be The Great Gatsby, Titanic, whatever, you know that it's Leonardo DiCaprio, right?
Yeah.
And you look at The Revenant and you go, who's this guy? Who's this guy who looks like he should be in like Mastodon or something, like a heavy metal band, like, who is this guy? And no, it's Leonardo DiCaprio.
I could tell.
Yeah, he definitely he put a lot into this performance. You could tell that he was definitely, I mean, he puts a lot into all of his performances, really. I don't think there's a single performance where I was like, oh, Leonardo, he's not trying.
He phoned it in. Yeah, no, I agree with that.
But this one was definitely like, I would say that the Wolf of Wall Street performance is better in some ways, but this one is definitely up there with one of his best like character portrayals. Yeah, I think I'm trying to think back to watching The Wolf of Wall Street, and I think that he did a better job portraying that character in that movie. And obviously, he does a good job in other things like the Django and stuff like that. He doesn't have a big part in Django, but
His part in Django, though, like where he cuts his hand, like that was real, and like the blood was everywhere. That was his blood. Like he literally bled for that movie.
Yeah.
And got nothing. So
well, yeah, he could have gotten supporting actor.
Hey, he got a meme out of that movie, okay?
he did.
Yeah.
That's true.
Well, and he also got a meme in the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He got a meme.
Yeah.
Meme master, and Inception. He's a meme in Inception as well.
Yeah.
That's like the equivalent of being at your job and they're like, well, we could give you a raise, but like a pizza party, definitely
here's a
better.
pizza party for you. Oh, thanks. Really,
And I guess
really love that.
I guess that kind of leads into Tom Hardy as well in this movie. I'm not a huge Tom Hardy fan. He's okay in Mad Max Fury Road and some of the other things that I've seen him in. But this performance was actually like really strong. He had to keep an accent for the entire movie, which he does a really good job of keeping. And the portrayal of this character, this kind of like, I don't even know how to really describe him, just kind of like asshole, crazy dude, is really good. It's probably his. I mean, I would say it's probably his best performance that I've seen him in, at least. And I don't know if y'all have seen him in something better, but I think this is a very standout performance from him.
Yeah, no, I think he did a really good job, for sure. Yeah, I don't know if I can think of anything besides Inception's the only thing coming. Inception and Batman are the only two things coming to mind at the moment that he's been in. I know he's been in other stuff.
Venom.
Oh yeah, Venom. Oh, I love him in Venom, but that's just because Venom is just hokey fun.
And then we also had Will Poulter in here, which
he was the kid, like not Hawk, but the other kid, Bridget.
Yeah. Bless his heart. He was the sweet one.
He did a good job, but anytime I see Will Poulter, I just see him as the kid from Maze Runner at this point.
Oh,
I see him from We Are the Millers.
Yeah, I just see him from the meme where it's like, wait, you guys are getting paid?
Yeah.
He has a very distinct look, and it's hard for me at least to get him out of like the.
I mean, have you seen him? Because like, there's also the meme going around where it's like, damn, puberty hit this guy great. Where like he just doesn't even look like he did back then.
Yeah, I'm looking at a generally recent facial. What are they called? Face shots.
Headshot.
Headshot. That's it.
Facial. Oh.
And yeah, his eyebrow. He doesn't look as high school bully as he used to. That's for sure.
Right. Yeah, he's got like a beard and stuff now, and you're like, oh, okay.
Okay. Oh yeah, maybe he can grow out of that niche. I guess.
I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio, he was in that kind of same role as a kid too. Not the bully role, but just the
handsome-looking young man who can get the girl has to wear an iron mask.
He always can get the girl.
Well, yeah.
Except for maybe the Man in the Iron Mask is the only one where he didn't get the girl.
Well,
I never saw that
Gatsby.
movie. Oh
yeah. Well, there you go.
But I do know enough of the book that he dies. So
Double spoiler alert.
Doubles. Spoil.
Have I ever told you guys that I really kind of am different about the Great Gatsby movie?
No,
I
really like it.
I didn't care enough to see it.
The setting is great, and there's a lot of great flair to it, but then there's like rap music playing and stuff during like the 1920s flapper dancing. And I was like, I'm not into this. And
I loved that aspect of it.
Well, then you might like Moulin Rouge as well.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Not seen it.
But that leads me into how in this movie there's a few things that take me out of it a little bit. And the first thing is, let me just clarify. Let me just say, the first action scene is really well done. They did a spectacular job with it. When Leonardo DiCaprio, when Glass shoots a musket afterwards, sometimes he shoots them twice without reloading. And
there was one point in that where they handed him.
No, that was in the first action scene, and I already said that was really well done. The rest of the movie, though, he shoots that pistol several times without reloading. He shoots his musket without reloading. It's weird that they didn't fine tune those things or show him reloading the weapon between that. And then at the end of the movie, when he's hunting Tom Hardy's character, John, they only have one shot each. So it's like, okay, so now we're back to having only one shot in our muskets or whatever. It's just that middle section where it's bizarre how like the one scene where he saves the Native American woman from being raped, and he takes the pistol and he shoots a guy, and then he's on the horseback and he shoots the gun again. I'm like, when did you have the time to reload? When did you pick up a different pistol? Like, there's no reason for it. So there was a couple times where that happened, and it did kind of take me out of the movie because I guess historically accurate as the setting is and how meticulous a lot of the movie is in terms of design, it just seems like a bit of a oversight when you're firing a weapon that takes like 5 minutes to reload twice in the span of a few seconds of
Yeah.
screen time.
I agree with that. Yeah, I did.
Yemmy
notice
wants
that a
to
few
see
times.
that 10-minute reload.
Yeah.
I mean, they did it tastefully throughout the movie, where he's like putting the gunpowder in the bullet, and he's putting the wick inside of it to push the stuff down, and like they show it tastefully. Like it doesn't have to be a 5-minute sequence, but at least show him doing something, so it's not just like bam, 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 bam. It's not a machine gun. Like,
You said there was 2 things that took you out of it. What was the other?
when I picked up my phone and noticed I was only about 30 minutes into the movie and it felt like an hour.
Yes.
I really enjoyed this movie when I was in the theater, but that was in a theater with surround sound and the big giant screen. In the small theater, in the home theater, I felt the runtime so hard multiple times through the movie, and I was so disappointed because I was like, I'm really enjoying it and I'm immersed in this, but I am bored to tears almost sometimes.
Yeah, it does slow down big time.
Yeah, that's my biggest complaint is this movie could have been a lot shorter. Like there was just so many times like it's beautiful. Like I love the cinematography in it and just like the shots, like their front, like I was looking, I was like, this is kind of like frontier porn for people who just love like the frontier life.
Yeah.
It looks beautiful, but then there's times where it's just like he gets chased by the or is that what they were called?
Yeah.
They had a few names.
Ree.
Obviously but like he gets chased by them and like gets thrown off the cliff or jumps off the cliff, whatever. And then like there's just other times where things like that kept happening. It's like pick the best sequence and just pick with one.
Yeah, they could have just left it at like the Ree find him on the shoreline and he has to float down the river. You don't have to have the Ree show up again to chase him with the horse off the cliff. Like I understand that you want to get that big sequence where he cuts open the horse to sleep inside of it, but you can get there a different way than having the Ree be like this force that's pushing him in that direction,
Yeah.
That scene, since you, go ahead. I'll let you. Sorry.
No, go ahead because I might slightly change. Like it's the same topic.
Oh, okay. Wouldn't they just chase him down? Like I know it was like a decent sized cliff, but I feel like they would just have gone down and got him.
I feel like they thought he died going off the cliff.
Okay, yeah, maybe, but I don't know. It just felt very, and I know it's Hollywood, but it felt very like they would go and double check kind of thing.
Yeah, they like at least look over the edge and go, "Oh yeah, he's dead." Nope, they just went, "Huh."
I don't know. It
Whatever.
just didn't. The perception did not seem like it. Just felt like they could have gone down there and like killed him or doubled. I don't know. It didn't seem like a good stopping point for the chase.
It happens multiple times where he gets into these situations where it's just kind of outrageous how he escapes or how whatever happens.
Yeah.
And like they could have cut out like two of those ones that were less important and the movie would have been better for it. Because at a point, it just starts to feel like something like an action movie like Taken or something where, it just, things just keep happening. It doesn't matter if there's a rhyme or reason, just kind of keeps happening. Like after the bear mauling and that initial action scene where the Ree are attacking the traders, you have the whole scene where they're on the, so the bear attack happens. Then you have that time where he's like, on the edge of death being carried around, and that's all fine. And then after that, when he starts to heal again, it just kind of like revs back up where it's like not really in a good way though, where it's just like, okay, so this is what happens next, and then he falls off the cliff, and then he it just felt like something that I would have written in high school where it's like, and then this happens, and then this happens, and then you'll never guess it, this happens.
Yeah, I do. So like the description of the movie that like you read to us last time, and obviously at the beginning of this episode, where you're like, and he chases those who left him behind. He's like, no, he's chasing one guy. It's not a those. It's a guy. Yeah, the one who left him behind. And because of that description and like the runtime of this movie, I thought, okay, so it's gonna be like you see him kind of get on the mend, and then it's gonna like jump forward years later, and he's hunting down these people like in Texas or something. Nope. It's just this long drawn out. Unnecessarily drawn out him making his way to the fort. And you're like, okay, I mean, again, if they just cut some of those scenes down, it would have been better. But,
I don't like gore or
Yeah.
like. Well, okay,
Oh,
hold on.
sorry.
Let me rewind that.
Yeah, sorry.
necessary gore.
Yeah, like yes, unnecessary gore. I like the old like slasher movies. Love those because of how like pathetic they are. I was so over this movie. I counted, it was 7:02, 7 minutes and 2 seconds in. I was done. And not to say that it's a terrible movie, because I'm sure people that like survival movies would love this, like absolutely. But I was so done as soon as like I saw that that's what we were watching. I have been putting this movie off because I did not want to see it. I didn't want to see the horse. I'm not a survival girl. Don't like it. That's where I draw the line.
Yeah.
So this movie was very hard to watch.
The only thing I knew about this movie going in was that it was the one where Leonardo DiCaprio gets attacked by a bear. That is the only thing I knew.
Yeah, and that's
I
obviously
knew
like a
all
big
about
part of it, but there's also like
Yeah.
the rest of the movie where he's like cutting open animals and people are getting their shot and stuff, and
Eating pure flesh and throwing it up, and
yeah, it's a pretty brutal movie in that aspect, and they definitely go into detail with not just like the cinematic angle, but also like the props and stuff. Like it actually looks like real meat coming out of these things,
and it makes you like, the one thing that got me curious though, when he was pulling all of the insides out of the horse, I'm like, I wonder if that's actually what it looks like. Like that got me a little
Probably pretty
curious.
close.
Yeah, I'm sure they know. I'm sure we
Yeah.
know, just from
Yeah.
the past science experiments
Well,
and stuff.
just like vets and autopsies and.
Right. Yeah. I've just never personally seen one. So-
Well, yeah.
No, I don't think any of us have like been like, oh, let's just cut open this horse and see what's inside.
I haven't seen horses, but I have seen other animals.
Yeah, same.
I mean, yeah,
No,
in high school we cut open
Yeah.
frogs and stuff. So.
Frogs and
Yeah. Well, and we've all got basically the same kind of.
The roadkill.
Theirs are just bigger.
roadkill. That's fair.
Yeah. Let's say I've seen my tegu. Usually she just swallows her mice, but sometimes she's bad at eating and disembowels them. I'm like, oh, good. I really wanted to see rat guts today. Thank you.
Oh God.
They're already dead. Like they are dead before I give them to her. Like I don't give her
That's
live.
nice.
I could not do live with her because that would just no.
That's fair. Well, that's hilarious too, because I found a pieces of vertebrae and pelvic bone on my back deck not too long ago. So
wow.
someone had an amazing meal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm sorry. I feel like I completely just derailed this.
No.
No, let's jump off of that. I mean, the bear mauling is like the most famous, I guess, scene from the movie. I think most people who haven't even seen this movie know that, like, oh, Leonardo is mauled by a bear. What did you all think of it? I mean, obviously it's a very famous scene at this point.
I thought it was very well done.
Yeah, it was very well done. There was times like when the bear picked him up that like in my mind, because sometimes I know the bear's not real, I'm just like, he's just being picked up by like a robot arm that's just kind of throwing him around. And that was on me. That like it looked really good. Don't get me wrong, but it's just in my head. It's like, well, it's not a real bear, so it's a robot arm or something like pulley and rope system pulling him around.
That would still be terrifying.
Oh yeah, I mean it'd be fun.
Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
Like I
really
said,
well done.
The bear was very well done. Sorry.
Hello.
Hello? Yeah, a cat just
You there?
decided to knock it over.
That's not good. Mine's trying to get
She's-
my attention, so.
Too.
Well, while you fiddle with that, we have.
All right,
I
I'm
believe
good. I'm good.
Don't we have two people in the medical field here, right? Or just
Yes, B.
I was like, I know Greedy. Who else?
Not me.
one? Okay,
Not
so
me.
just Greedy. I was wondering what you thought of the wounds inflicted on Leonardo and his recovery time.
I'm not in the medical like
Because
business.
even just watching on my own, I was like, he should be dead, right? Like,
Um,
Especially 1800s. Yeah.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean they do kind of do a good idea of like his body like going into like the fever mode and all that. Like all that would have been real because of just your body fighting off like what the heck just happened. I don't think it would have bled out necessarily because I think everything it was so cold, so everything would have kind of just just frozen up a little bit. As gross as that sounds, but bare teeth are not very sanitary. So I think he would have definitely got a couple of diseases. And I was gonna bring up that the fact that he was having a fever and he started going body pretty much started shutting down, and they kind of just ignore that, I guess, a little bit. And he all of a sudden he's better now. So I think he could have survived, but it didn't seem like they focused enough on him getting healed better. So because it takes a while to get to the camp, but I don't know. It's tough. It's tough.
And there was that one native guy who did the miracle cure on him with the plants or whatever, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, and there would have been a lot of dirt and stuff in those side of those wounds, and as long as you get the wounds cleaned in time, which he probably didn't, he would have probably his body would have probably died. But
Well, I mean, the first doctor, seemed to know quite a bit and was like cleaning the wounds and staunching the bleeding and everything, sewing them up. But yeah, it just is very unbelievable that he would survive that. I mean, because you had like earlier in the scene, I know Ray's favorite scene. You had people dying by just getting shot in the back with an arrow.
yeah.
Did the guy really have to be naked though? Like, was that necessary?
That's the shock value. Like, oh, there's a naked man back there.
Barely, and that's fine. You could barely make anything out.
Well, I
That's
mean, the
true.
guy that was with that girl, native woman, not with, but with that native woman. I mean, he was naked too.
Well, he just had his dingus out. He had his clothes on still.
Yeah, but there's a scene where he's.
Well, there's not.
Yeah.
No, he didn't have any genitals at that point.
Yeah, he cut him off.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
cut
that
him
was
off.
great. That part I actually enjoyed.
Yeah, that was a good. I was like, hell yeah.
I guess that's another thing that kind of takes me out of it a little bit is like that part especially is like they're wide open and there's nowhere to hide and every single person shooting the guns at them just miss their shots. And I get it, muskets aren't the most accurate thing ever, but we've already seen like
They're like
sharpshooters and like at the end of the
Sharpshooters.
movie Tom Hardy's like sniping his the dead corpse of the captain from like what seems like a mile away or whatever.
Yeah, that
And
was a little.
it's just
yards.
that's another thing that kind of takes me out. I'm like, yeah, it's a cool shot and like definitely takes a lot of skill, I guess, but like
he like the bullet curved, like the gun was pointing off to the right and it shot to the left.
well, and also like the accuracy of a musket back then, like
Yeah.
I mean, that's why like when people did duels, I actually did a podcast about this not too long ago, where like just using like flintlock pistols from like a few like 10 paces away, you were liable to just miss your target entirely, even if you aimed directly at the person. So it's like the musket is not that much different. It's just an elongated pistol essentially, and it's still not like it can be accurate, sure, but it's not like so accurate that you're gonna get the shots. And like they go from two extremes. They go from like the extreme of like they're in the open and not a single shot hits either the native woman or Leonardo DiCaprio, and then they go to the other extreme where it's like really long range, wind resistance probably, musket being inaccurate. Just nail his target, from however many miles away at that point. It seemed like it was really far away. He's on like the top of like a hill.
Yeah, that scene was kind of interesting, and even with the arrows. I mean, I know arrows are a little believable than the muskets, but it just seemed like they were just pinpoint accuracy with all these arrows, and then until they weren't,
pretty accurate with an arrow.
I don't know. In that time and age, I mean, I guess they're well trained, but I don't know.
Yeah,
Some
I
of
mean,
those shots.
Bow and arrows have
seemed
been
a little-
around for at that point for centuries. So you definitely got sharpshooters with bow and arrows.
But I think Greedy's point of all of a sudden they're not accurate like a minute later is a better point because they're making all these crazy shots where like the arrows are going through the trees and they don't know where they're coming from, or there's a guy in the tree like shooting arrows down and they're like pelting them, and then when they go to run towards the boat, like no one's being hit by a single arrow.
Yeah, when they're fleeing, there's not a single arrow to the back.
Yeah, the scene where the horse goes over the cliff, like he comes out of the clearing and he's like out in the open before he goes over the cliff, and no one's hitting him. That I was just like,
there you go. Thank you. That goes back to my point earlier.
Yeah, I was like seriously, like, and they had guns and arrows, and it's like nothing is hitting him. He's on a horse. He's a big target, and out in the open, and none of you are. I think they eventually hit the horse. Is why the horse goes over the cliff.
I think he just drives it off the cliff.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I can't remember.
Yeah.
No, I think the horse does get hit, but I don't know.
I mean, at that point, even if the horse hadn't gotten hit, he was so close to the cliff, he was going over.
He's going over no matter what. So
yeah.
But
actually, probably the horse getting hit saved him because he got bucked, so he went into the tree instead of just to the ground like the horse. So.
Yeah, when he went into that tree, I remember originally watching the movie and being like, are we gonna have another like whole sequence where he's like trying to mend his broken arm or something like that, or
Yeah.
Apparently the tree helped soften his fall, I guess. So
I mean, it would. But
I was prepared for that. Like he lifts up his hand and it's like his wrist is like broken.
Yeah.
He snapped it back in place.
He still would probably have some more damage than just
I'm concussed.
Well, now I'm cold.
Yeah.
Which doesn't even like, because he just came from his fire. He just woke up. So it's like, it's not night. It's not going to be night for another like 12 hours. And the first thing you immediately do is like, well, gotta get in this horse.
Well, the snowstorm comes.
Okay. I guess.
Just like Hoth, where the Han had to use the tauntaun to put Luke into it. The snowstorm.
But I mean, that one was also one night was falling, a storm was coming, and it was just temporary because Han was actually building a shelter. And he said, "This will keep you warm till the shelter's up." And as we see here in this movie, that horse freezes over. Leonardo has to break out of there. He would be so cold at that point.
Yeah.
Mm.
Probably. I don't know for sure. I mean, maybe the science says he would be fine.
I did find it kind of funny that he had his face to the weather. I know you don't want to smell the inside of a horse, but wouldn't his face be entirely frostbitten if he kept it out of the horse for so long?
Seriously. His
turn into a
nose
ghoul. His nose falls off.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of this movie that I actually don't really remember because I was a bit bored while watching it at times. Like there are these there's really good scenes mixed throughout this entire movie, right? And then there's these sections where I just don't remember exactly how he got to the location or what really happened. And I feel like a lot of them kind of blend together too. Like I remember watching the movie and being like, didn't we already see this scene where he's crawling across the ground? But no, it was a separate scene that was later in the movie, and
That just was like a repeat. Like I said, that's the things they could have taken. There were so many scenes where it was just kind of the same thing over and over. Yeah. It's like
no, I felt like go ahead. I'm sorry, I keep cutting Tay off today. I don't know why.
the basic story they have here is a good story. It's interesting. It's enough to keep your interest, but when you start dragging it out for no apparent reason other than to get the 2.5 hour for some reason runtime. Which I guess that's a new Oscar. To get an Oscar, you have to have a movie that's at least 2.5 hours. I don't know. But either way, it's like I'm interested, but at the same time, I'm bored. You're so much your beautiful scenery shots you keep showing are beautiful, but then there's always just a bit of torture at the bottom of it because it's the frontier. I don't know.
Well, if you wanted to make a documentary about nature, you could have just done that,
Yeah.
Like you said, the shots are beautiful, but they don't really add a lot most of the time to what you're seeing anyway.
Yeah. It's basically just to show how alone and cold it is. And as beautiful as they are, that can only be, it's like we get it. We've gotten it by this point. We don't need the same it's slightly different version of that shot 10 more times.
And I wasn't really digging the avant-garde scenes where he's like dreaming, like, and his wife is like floating down from the sky, and
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah,
the first time
those
it
felt
happened, I'm like,
weird.
okay, I get it, he's hallucinating and whatever, and then it kept happening over and over and over again, and I was like, there comes a point where it kind of becomes silly, like you can totally see that she's on a wire being raised slightly above him, and it's just kind of silly towards the end. The final one was very silly.
Final two.
Yeah, I guess the final two were kind of silly, but like once again, like if this was like maybe 30 minutes shorter and they did like two of those scenes, one at the beginning and one towards the end when he was, you know, dying again, essentially after the duel, would have made sense. It would have been, fine. But since we had so many throughout this 2.5 hour runtime, it just seemed to drag the movie down even more.
Yeah, going back to you saying like you just got bored and it felt very scene like. I know probably you guys are probably gonna hate me a lot for this, but I felt like the group that was chasing Leonardo, like I like every scene with them, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot you guys are chasing him. Besides like the scene where the arrow, they shoot the arrow and the tree stops them from getting the headshot, but I was just like, oh yeah, you guys are still chasing him, aren't you?
Okay,
I
so
would forget too.
yeah, at the very beginning of this movie, we had like four kind of like stories going. One's after the bear attack, and they kind of split up. It's like, okay, so we've got the captain and his men trying to get home. We have Fitzgerald and Bridger, like they're on their way home. We've got Leo, and then we've got the Ree, who are tracking down the white men to get the daughter back. And some of those, like the captain one, they're just like, "Are we going the right way? Maybe we'll find out." And then you never get the end of that. And suddenly, when Bridger and Fitzgerald get back to the base, they're just there, and you're just like, "Oh, you didn't want to show that did they take the right way? Did they go like you didn't show?"
Yeah, and then there was scenes where they're like, oh, there's a fresh camp, 2 miles down the road or whatever. And I know 2 miles for them is a long way, but it just felt like they were right there the whole time, but they never show a scene besides the one, again, where the arrow almost hits Leonardo. It just seemed like they were on their tail the whole time, but they never made an emphasis to, like, get them, It just felt like very drawn out throughout.
Well, and then in the first half of the movie, I was rooting for the Native Americans. Like, yeah, kill those colonizers. And then okay, the Leo character, I guess, is he's pretty cool too. I guess he seems pretty nice towards Native Americans and stuff. And then they're trying to kill him. You're like, well, I don't want you to kill him. Go kill the other ones.
Right.
And then they just kept going after like him. They just kept showing up for him. And it's like after a while, like at the end when they show up and they leave him alone because the daughter's actually with them, I just feel like they should look at him like, didn't we kill you like 3 other times? How are you still here? But whatever.
Yemmy, no comment on that?
On what?
What we were just talking about.
I don't know what you want me to say. I don't have anything to say.
Agree? Disagree?
No, I agree.
Okay.
Like I said, I didn't mind the Ree showing up.
It just circles back around to what I said before. It just feels like Taken or something, where it's like, and then the Ree show up, and then they show up again, and then
they're gonna get them tomorrow, and then they never do. Yeah. It's like, what?
So the Revenant, the title of the movie, the Revenant. Revenant's a ghost. It's a vengeful spirit that wants revenge. So I get why they call it that, but I never really felt like he was a vengeful spirit. More just like that guy killed my son. I guess I'll work my way over there and kill him. If my schedule opens up.
I mean, look, you gotta survive all the
Yeah,
other
I think
stuff to get your revenge.
Yeah, I
you know,
know.
you can't
Yeah,
just
I
be
know.
you can't be the Revenant the whole time. You gotta be survivalist.
Which
for
is why I was
50%.
kind of, yeah, I was like, so that's what I was kind of hoping. Like the first half of the movie is like, oh, they leave him, and then it would flash forward some years, so you
Oh,
can
that's
just go,
that's
oh,
another thing. They leave him. Like I felt
oh
like
yeah,
if the entire
okay,
group had decided to leave him, I think this would have been maybe a bit more interesting because now he's hunting the entire group of people, right?
yeah. Well, and then like I said, you do a flash forward, and then he has to go like actually, do a globe trotting around the world to find him and kill him. It's a totally different movie for sure, but
yeah, I think it would have been kind of a cool payoff to have like maybe Tom Hardy's character kill the captain and take over the camp, and
yeah,
everyone follows him, or maybe he kills the captain in the middle of the woods while he's trying to force them all to take Glass back to the camp, and he takes over and leaves him behind and kills his son, right? And now he's got Howard Glass has to go back and fight an entire group of guys who are now held out in the traders camp or whatever it was, the fortress or the fort.
that'd be cool.
And even though I do enjoy the duel at the end of it all, but that could have been like the cherry on top after he just
Yeah,
went
kills
through
everybody else.
everything
and
else.
Fitzgerald runs away, and he chases him down, and you have your duel. But yeah, it's just like I said, it was a fun, it was an engaging story. It kept my interest, but it could have been done better.
Shorter.
Yes,
Yeah.
shorter for sure.
There's a
Ray's
lot of,
also like less glory too,
Yeah.
or non-glory.
Less glory to God, damn it.
Yeah.
There's too much God speech in this movie.
yeah. On
my
the
gosh.
editing floor, there's a perfect movie here. That's a 5 out of 5. Even without him having to hunt down the entire group of
Yeah.
the frontiersmen, there's a 5 out of 5 movie in here somewhere, but it gets muddied with everything that we've talked about with our criticisms here. That brings it down. Not too much, but enough to be like, well, yeah, I because when I started out, I remember this movie and I was like, oh, this is gonna be an easy 5 out of 5. And when I started watching it, I was like, oh yeah, this first scene, the bear scene, blah blah blah. And then about I don't know, 30 minutes to 40 minutes in, I was like, oh no, why am I so bored? Like what the hell, man? And
I
I just
was-
remember when this movie came out, everyone was just raving about it.
well, I mean, it is a very technically good movie. Like from just the objective standpoint, like yeah, it's a great movie. Minus any personal things aside. Like there's great stuff in
Yeah.
here to really appreciate: the cinematography, the sound design, even like the CG bear for that time period was actually really well done. The gore and makeup and everything like that is they knock it out of the park. The acting is all really good. Like the whole historical setting is really good, minus the multiple firing muskets, but like just objectively from the outside looking in, it's like this is a great movie. It's got everything you kind of want on a base level in a great movie. It just kind of fumbles it, which we can now look back on and be after all the hype has gone, we can now look back on and be like, well, there are some things to criticize about this for sure.
Like I said, for me, only knowing about the bear thing, and that and knowing that he goes on revenge for them, in quotes, I was like, okay. And so the bear thing took way too long to happen, from just my point of view, where it's just like I'm a half hour into this and this bear attack hasn't happened, and then when it does, I'm like, okay, so now things will get moving, right? And they didn't. And then that, like I said, about an hour into it, I'm like, I paused it for a second and went, I still have an hour and 20 minutes left. What are they going to do? So yeah, that definitely felt the runtime.
I think my biggest gripe out of this entire movie is the rape scene. Like, it's not needed. It's never needed. And it just pisses me off.
For sure.
Like, for many reasons. But, I don't want to see that. No one wants to see that. Like, the shock factor should have just been with the bear and the horse. That's it.
Yeah. So, I mean...
And he
not
could
to
even
defend
like
it.
have stopped it before it started too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Say,
That
like,
that would have been a better
definitely
way
could
to do
have
it.
like shown that like yes, this was the thing that happened. Is
That
they
was his
stole Native
intent.
American women and they raped them. That was the thing that happened. We don't need to see it. You just need
100%.
to like imply that yes, that's what's been happening, and he stops it. And you're like, good
Yeah.
on him. Yeah, I don't need to see it though.
100%.
I also feel like going off of that, like I just feel like him saving the Native American woman just kind of seems a bit like if she like white savior, I guess you could say. Like here he comes to save the day. You know, like you could have done it a different way where it's like he sees she's being, tortured or whatever or abused and gotten her out without glorifying it in the way where it's like it turns it into like a bit of an action scene where he's firing his pistol 3 times and taking out dudes and she runs away in the wide open and doesn't get hit by a single bullet or anything. And like sure the payoff is great where she actually cuts off his dick, but
Yes, 1,000.
like-
We can keep that all day
Yeah.
long.
Oh yeah.
but like you could have done that like where maybe he saves her in the middle of the night and she cuts off his dick in the middle of the night and kills
See,
or something
That
like
would be awesome. Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
I'm with
So-
that. I would watch that movie.
Yeah. I'm with that too. So yeah, I did look something up though. And multi-shot flintlock pistols were invented in 1836.
So 16 years after this movie's
Mhm.
Well,
year.
that was the 6-shot. The 2-shot was made in the 30s, which is roughly
10 years
Yeah.
after now.
This was the
What-
prototype.
Yeah, this was
They're
the
testing
very
it
unique
out.
prototype
Yeah.
that
I say
only
what
Glass
year did this
had.
take place in again?
1820s.
Yes,
Okay.
it says the 1820s, so that could be anywhere between 20 and
There
29.
were multi-shot firearms around the mid 1500s, but I don't know if they were flintlock.
I mean,
Matchlock, real lock
I'll stop
weapons.
there. Every weapon they showed was a single shot rifle. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
that's
Whether they had them during the time
I was
doesn't
just
really
curious.
matter
Yeah.
because every weapon that they use in here, including the flintlock pistol and the musket, are all single shot weapons that need to be reloaded with gunpowder and a bullet or a bullet ball.
Yep, that's fair.
And it needs to be pushed into the stock, and it needs to have a little bit of gunpowder on the the hammer so that it ignites, and there's a lot that goes into it,
Yeah.
And you can see the smoke as like it is, like a single shot type of gun. So
Right.
Well, the double shot ones are just 2 barrels side by side, and they each have their own little hammer.
And a lot of times those will just fire at the same time anyway, so
Well, maybe. I'll say these ones that I was looking at looked like they were. Maybe.
But yeah, I mean, if you look at
fire
a still of any of
independently.
these rifles, there's no double barrel rifles in there either. So the point is
that's
moot
fair.
once again.
Well, okay, I didn't look close enough at the guns to know that. So, but
No,
yeah,
I
there
mean-
were. So I was just curious.
The single barrel rifles are the only thing you see throughout the entire movie. I can guarantee you on that. It wouldn't have been such a problem if it had if the pistol he picked up had 2 barrels on it. Throw this whole thing away. No, it's just 1 barrel. And he fires it twice, maybe sometimes 3 times at a time. And it's not like you can just, like you shoot a shot and then you put a ball into it. You have to reload the gunpowder and the igniting, stuff, and there's a lot of work that goes in. The people don't realize it. It actually does take like 5 minutes to reload
yeah.
a musket. Maybe
Oh,
about
they know.
maybe 2.5 for if you're good with a pistol, right?
Well, this is why you did the lineup, so some people could fire and then fall back and reload while the next few lines fired.
And once again, that first scene does that perfectly, where he gets the rifle and he does, all that stuff. And there's other movies as well, like I can't think of them right now, but that have like very historically accurate, like, okay, here's the line of riflemen who fire, and then the second row behind them fires after that. And like, there's a lot of movies that do it great. This movie starts off very accurate, and then goes, and now because it's an action scene, we need him to fire 3 shots now or 2 shots now. It's just one of those things it takes you out of it.
Yeah.
Not to mention the
I have-
accuracy issue.
I have a list of the guns they used. They had 1 flintlock pistol, 2 Pennsylvania flintlock rifles, and 3 Brown Bess carbines.
Those sound like all single-shot rifles and pistols. Yep.
Yep, they sure do.
Oh.
One more thing I want to bring up before we go to the end or whatever. Does it seem like there's some scenes where he should have been like caught and he wasn't? Like that whole scene where he's getting that horse again. I feel like he's just like, no, he's in this big fluffy coat, and I don't think a horse is hiding behind a horse would give him all that stealth.
Yeah, what does that horse have 2 extra legs? I mean, it was dark and, whatever. And they were just
dark.
well, they were just in the light too of the fire, so like looking out into the darkness, your eyes aren't going to adjust right away.
I felt like there was a couple of times where you're like, okay, how has he not been caught yet?
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Also, that big fluffy coat and everything, anytime he goes into the water, I'm just like, that thing is now just a sheet of thick ice.
Yeah.
And
I thought that too.
it's not, like, there's one scene where you see him take it off after getting in the water, and you're like, okay, yes. But then there's other times he just, like, jumps in the water and is like, nah, it's fine. I'm like,
Well, that's not just a fluffy coat, right? That's actually the skin of the bear that he killed.
okay. Well, I knew it was the skin of an animal, but I didn't know it was the bear.
Yeah. So the Poulter's character gives him the claws, and they because they're they skin animals for a living, they skin the bear for him.
Yeah. Well, either way, it's a block of ice.
Yeah, it's a
when it
very
gets-
heavy. Like even if it's just waterlogged, like that's gonna slow you down, and it's also gonna be extra cold because it's holding on this retaining so much water there.
Oh.
Yeah.
So even as if this was just a survival movie, they don't depict some of that stuff very accurately either.
I did enjoy the scene where he uses the gunpowder to like seal his throat up.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool. But it was kind of semi not really ruined, but just kind of like they kind of skip past it because all of a sudden the Ree are there all of a sudden and he has to hide from the Ree. It was at that point that I realized that the movie, the pacing was all over the place because you have the scene where he's, he shoots him, or he doesn't shoot himself, but he uses the gunpowder to seal his wound and he lights the fire and whatever. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, and then the Ree came,
And suddenly the Ree were there.
And that's another scene where he probably would have been caught a little bit sooner because he was only hiding. He wasn't really hiding that well. He was like looking around the corner, and the guy was like looking right at him. And eventually he does get caught. But
yeah, the scene where he's going down the river, he does get caught, but it's like the sound of him moving down the river in the water would have gave him away a lot sooner.
Well,
that scene where he's kind of floating down the river and the Native Americans are shooting him. It kind of reminded me of the second Hobbit movie where they're in the barrels because it was just kind of goofy and like they're just like shooting like tons of arrows and they're just splashing all around. I'm like, why are we doing this right now? Like,
to be fair, to Greedy's point, splashing while he's splashing around the river, that river was running fast enough they would not have heard the splashing. It just would sound.
I don't know. He was right there.
Yeah, I've been by a smaller river than that's been running, about that fast, and you can't hear. Just,
Leonardo going down there. No.
Yeah, yeah, I did. Actually. It was weird. I didn't notice him at first, but then eventually he went, "Ha! I got away!" And I went, "Ah, damn it, Leo."
Yeah, I think we can all agree that rushing water is very loud. It's deafening almost sometimes. I mean. Exaggeration, obviously, is in Niagara Falls. If you're like near Niagara Falls, like anywhere near it, you can hear that roar coming from it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like the running water sounds like splashing water, so it all just kind of blends together, and you wouldn't hear him, for sure. That's my opinion on it, at least.
Well, that's all I gotta say about that.
That's all I gotta say. Except for I'll catch you next time, Leo.
All right, ready for ratings or?
I am.
I just want to say really fast, this is the longest we've gone actually talking about the movie.
Well, it's a 2-hour movie, so.
We did start at the very beginning talking about other movies.
Yeah.
True.
There's a Great Gatsby tangent in there somewhere, I'm pretty sure.
That's true.
And I do have one more thing I wanted to say.
He's about to mention Brightburn. Here we go.
No. So the soundtrack and stuff in this movie was great, except for towards the end. They just kept having like high pitched noises like throughout the songs, and I'm just like, what is this? Why is this attacking my ears? What? Why you don't need this? What is this?
It was the high-pitched elk that was happening throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
But now it was like a culmination of like, here's the most intense part of the movie, and we need the elk all the time. Go, go, go.
Thing is, it didn't even sound like an elk. Like the elk sounded like an elk, but like at the end, it was just like a.
It was a trap remix, Tate.
Okay. Well, either way, I didn't care for it.
I don't know. I really didn't notice it. So
Yeah, I just figured they're just copying what the elk sounded like, and that's kind of like the culmination of like his mind kind of getting overfilled with adrenaline and stuff, you know.
Maybe, yeah, because he was looking for Fitzgerald at that point. So, but yeah, I did notice that, and like I said, it was just towards the end of the movie where I was just like, why?
Here's a question: Do you think at the end of the movie did he live or did he die? I know that there's breathing happening at the credits, but they do leave it a little bit obscure as to whether he actually is going to keel over and die at that moment, or if he's going to make it back to camp.
My thoughts on it were at that point because like you see, get more flashes of his wife and stuff, and I think since he's avenged his son, he's ready at that point to just be done and just he has nothing else to live for. He got his revenge. He wants to go join his family in the afterlife. It's how I kind of read it. So he didn't even try to get back to camp. He was just like, peace out, I'm done.
Yeah, that or the and that girl helped him. So either one.
No,
It could go either ways.
They seemingly walked past him without a care in the world, really.
Yeah.
The one the chief got his revenge on Tom Hardy, and that was it.
Because Tom Hardy was the one who shot the chief, huh?
No, I just remember him punching him in the face with the butt end of his rifle. I don't even remember like anything like crazy happening between him and that character. I don't think he got well, maybe no, he got shot in the shoulder. You're right. He did get shot in the shoulder, and then he got punched in the face with the butt end of his rifle.
Yeah. He also, that point, they just like scalping white men. They just didn't do it to Tom. Or
they did it
Leo.
halfway to Tom. They were like, we got to finish the job on this one at least.
Yeah. Well, they didn't do it to Leo because they're like, hey, you saved my daughter, so you can just sit there and die.
You can die
and keep your scalp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he would have made it back in the condition he was in, even though he survived much worse earlier in the movie. But at that point, like, the power of revenge, I guess, was enough to keep him going. But now it's like, okay, he doesn't really have anything.
I mean, really, what happened besides him getting stabbed in the hand? Like
he got stabbed. He got stabbed in the thigh. He got stabbed in the hand. Not to mention he was. He was still recovering from his wounds. Like the doctor at the fort was like, he's got to rest for another like week or whatever. So his old wounds still hadn't healed fully. I'm pretty sure there was some other things that happened to him as well. Like obviously just the physical pain of being kicked and punched and whatever.
And like the movie made it sound like, because like, with the flashbacks of like when the village, his village was attacked, telling his son, long as you hold breath or whatever, you can make it through this. And that was the whole reason why he wasn't dying, because he was just like, nope, I got to keep holding my, keep breathing until I can avenge my son. And once he did, he was just like, yeah. And then the breathing stops, and he stopped. Like I felt like it felt, or thematically, it made sense for him to just die there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think he died. That's all I'm gonna say. I think he died.
Yeah, I was partially expecting the Ree to just like smack him in the face with like a blunt object as they walk by, just being like, okay, you're that guy, fuck you.
You killed some of our men, but you saved my daughter, so we're not gonna help you, but we're not gonna kill you.
All right, I'm ready for final ratings if you all are ready as well.
I am ready too.
All right, so I'll start off with the final rating and thoughts here because it's my movie. The Revenant from 2015. In general, it is a good movie, but that's kind of the baseline. It's like it's a good movie. It's got great visuals. It's got great, practical effects and CG effects as well, and it's got a good story going on there. And there's a lot that's good about this movie, right? But it's weighed down by just a long run time that doesn't really, you kind of want to make it worth your while when you're watching a movie. There needs to be interesting things happening and not waste your time essentially. And that's what I felt like this movie kind of did a little bit in the well, maybe not just a little bit, but a few times in there where I just was, because I was into the movie, but I was like, damn, like I'm really starting to feel this as these scenes start to drag on more and more. And then there's the other like angle where it's like some of the stuff in here is very historically accurate or pretty well done in that aspect, and then there's other parts that just really take you out with the sniper shot at the end or the multiple gun firings from the rifles and stuff. It's just like things that probably are just maybe they were overlooked because filming a movie is complicated, but also things that I feel like if you're doing a movie like this that's a period piece essentially, making sure that you have the same care put into it as like that first opening scene where they were trading off rifles and they were all these things were happening that were pretty realistic all the way up until like the bear fight and stuff like that. So in the end, I thought like there was a lot of great about this movie, but there were some negatives that were holding it back from being as good as I was hoping it was going to be or wishing that it was. So in the end, I landed on a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I agree. I did sound like I hated a lot of it throughout this movie. But it's just stuff that you got to talk about. Just stuff that I don't want to say inaccurate, but just things that I think the best way to say like Yemmy said is like a kid writing a survival book, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. It just didn't seem to. It connected well. It just seemed so random, and it does slow down a little bit in the movie. But the story was great, and acting was phenomenal. Again, Leonardo did outstanding in this, and just the whole costume and all that was awesome. After all that, I am still gonna give it a 4 out of 5.
All right. Yeah, like you have, said a lot of what I was thinking. It was really good. Like I was, engaged and like, all right, where's this going? But yeah, then there was just times where I was just let down. It's like, okay, well, here we are again at this basically the same scene as we just did. Yeah, the whole story, kid writing a story, and then this happened, and then this happened. Acting was great. The cinematography was great. Like I said, it was shot beautifully. But yeah, soundtrack was pretty good, except for at the end there where it's like started throwing in high pitched things to make it be more intense, I guess. But it didn't work for me. Overall, though, it is still a good movie. But I think I might give it a 3.5 out of 5.
Nice. Well,
Because the 1 out of Ferret. No, kidding.
Negative. No, I'm just kidding. Even though it's not my cup of tea, I've experienced this before with us watching movies and doing all this jazz. I will put my personal opinion on it, but then also look at it from a different perspective, and the fact that this was a good movie. The cinematography was beautiful. The scenes they were gorgeous, and you could definitely. I think one thing I was missing was being, and maybe this was just me not doing it, but feeling submerged into the story, understanding how cold he was, or how in pain he was, or that kind of thing. Didn't really feel it, but that also could have just been me trying to block it out. But other than that, his acting, phenomenal. The fact that he can go through a whole movie and not really talk and just suffer the entire time, that has to take a toll on you. But yeah, lots of dead space or repetitive scenes that were just kind of merp. But going at it from a personal perspective, hate the gore, not big on nastiness, survival, even survival games, not my thing. Like, I don't want to, I suffer every day just in life. I don't want to do it while watching a movie or doing something that's supposed to be relaxing. So all that being said, I will give this movie, I'll give it a 3. I'll give it a 3 out of 5.
I know that was tough for you.
It was. Thank you.
All right. We're a bit scattered on this one. That's okay, though. Different opinions are good.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh, wait. Can I change mine? I want to give it a -2 for Ray.
Oh.
Aw, you don't have to do that.
No, I'm fine. I'll keep it at 3.5 then.
Yeah, I when I picked this movie, one, it just came to like streaming services to rent, and I was like, okay, I really wanted to rewatch this, and I have the DVD. But two, I also like I've been picking a lot of whimsical movies lately, like Sgt. Pepper and stuff like that. And I was like, I kind of, when we first started this podcast, I was kind of picking like some of the more like minus like Shrek Forever After. I was picking some of the more like nitty gritty, like those kind of like artsy kind of movies. And I wanted to get back into that a little bit, but don't worry, I have plenty of different things that aren't just like painful movies to watch, right? I have plenty of different things, but we'll see for next time when I pick, huh? Maybe I'll pick Saw. No.
Yeah.
Knowing your preferences, I'm going to pick Saw 2 for the next episode.
Yeah, really.
I laughed during the first one. During the first Saw. That's those kind of slasher movies that I find comical. Like, dude's whole leg is severed off, and he's like, don't worry, I'm gonna go get help. And he's like army crawling as there's a blood trail, and he's like dying on the way there, and it's just like, it tickled my fancy.
Every time I think of Saw, I think of Shaq. What was it? A scary movie where Shaq was in this thing. He's like, for your next challenge, you have to make 3 free throws. He's like, no.
Well, that one must have been one of the newer ones because I don't remember that.
Oh,
I don't
the movie was so
remember
bad and so dumb. I think it's like Scary Movie 5 or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be the one that I turned off after about 30
Or maybe
minutes.
it wasn't Scary Movie.
I mean,
I'll
there's so
post
many
it.
of those.
I'll look for it. Now, maybe it wasn't Scary Movie. Maybe it was one of those like rip-off Scary Movies.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch of those during. I mean, they still kind of make some of them, but
I'll look for the scene.
I'll never forget how obsessed we were with Disaster Movie, and then you watch it like a few years later after you're not a kid, and you're like, this is such shit. Like, why did we ever laugh at anything that happens in this movie?
The original Scary Movies are
Epic
still.
movie? It's all made by I think it was all made by the same two dudes. Those rip-off and parody movies for a little while. Yeah,
the original Scary Movies are awesome.
Yeah, the first 2 Scary Movies are Wayans Brothers. Then the third on is the guy who did like Naked Gun.
Ah.
Or at least I know he did 3 and 4. I don't know if he did the others after that.
Yeah, who cares really? Those ones don't matter. Well,
Anyways,
anyway, GreedyWaffles has a movie for us.
All right, I have a question for you guys. Are you okay with me picking a third installment of a movie?
Of like a
I mean,
series?
do I need to see the first 2?
I was gonna say, well, we get it if we don't see the first 2.
I think you could get caught up pretty easily. I think so. I think if
like
you know,
us picking Fast 5 when we hadn't seen the other Fast movies.
kind of maybe. But you'll get the idea of it. As soon as I say the movie, I'm gonna go with it. Okay, I'm gonna go with it. I've seen the first 2. I know Yemmy's seen the first 2. I don't think I've seen this one. And there's a new one coming out eventually soon. So I'm gonna go with War for the Planet of the Apes.
Okay.
2017. So really, all you need to know is Caesar. He's the one leading the the Apes, and that's pretty much all you need to know.
I would say out of all the movies you could have picked, you definitely need to watch the first two before seeing this one if you haven't.
Really? Even though it's
Yeah.
a restart?
No, I mean it's a different timeline than the original Planet of the Apes movies.
Well, because there's Planet of the Apes. I mean,
And
there's
then-
several Planet of the Apes.
Well,
Yeah.
there's Rise of Planet of the Apes and then Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which both have major plot points that lead into war for the
All
Planet
right,
of the Apes.
we'll do Rise then. I had to talk real quick. I had to search it. But wait, no, it's only Planet of the Apes, and then it's Dawn Planet of the Apes, right?
No, the other Planet of the Apes movie, that's like an actual remake of the original one.
Yeah, so Rise of the Planet is 2011. Dawn of the Planet is 2014. Wars 17.
The
the
2001
original-
movie is not connected to what the newest
Yeah,
one's-
yeah.
I know that movie was.
That
bad,
was
so I
a
don't wanna
remake of
recommend
the
that one.
original '68 movie that was awful.
Yeah. No,
I'm
the
gonna-
68 movie is a
I'm gonna
classic.
need a guide.
No, the '68 is classic. The 2001 was a remake of the '68 movie, which was
Oh,
awful.
yeah. That was awful.
I
Yeah,
think
that's
I've only
where
seen
it
the
ends where they-
2001, so
Yeah.
I don't
Well-
think I've seen the 68.
Well,
maybe I
here's a
should
suggestion.
watch
Why
68.
don't you suggest the 68 movie? It's been a long time since I've seen it. If you want, of course. You don't have to.
Yeah, I just had to find it. I had to make sure it's on, things that we can see.
Oh yeah, it is. I already have it pulled up here.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna do Planet of the Apes, 1968. So an astronaut crew crash lands on a planet where highly intelligent non-human ape species are dominant, and humans are enslaved. It's directed by Franklin J. Schaffner. Some stars are Charlton Heston, Roddy McDowell, and Kim Hunter. And that's about it.
Okay.
So I've never seen it, so I'm kind of interested. It seems very interesting just based off of the previews here. So
Well, yeah, it's a
It's a
classic.
classic.
Yeah.
It is.
So,
I haven't seen it for years, but
Yeah, I remember watching this when I was like, I had to be like 10 or 11 years old. My dad had it all. We had the whole like trilogy, and I remember being scared shitless of
there was 5
the
of
entire
them.
trilogy. Well, yeah, there was, but we only had like the first
Yeah.
3.
And really, the first 3 were the best. The first 2 were the best. Because I remember for a sleepover, me and my friends, around when I was 10 or 11, we tried to do a marathon and watch all 5. I think I at least fell asleep by the by the 3rd one.
So it was a struggle to get here, but I think this is a great pick, especially with the newer
I told
movies
you guys I didn't have a movie picked
being
out. So.
fresh in our mind, in at least my mind. I mean, and it'll be interesting
Any
to
good
revisit
ones?
this after so very long.
I haven't seen War, so I need to see War before the new one comes out.
You didn't see War? I thought we saw that
No.
together in theater.
No, I only remember seeing the second one together.
Oh,
I don't
because the second
remember-
one was the one where the monkey was dual wielding machine guns, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
we're
okay.
like, all right, we're done with this.
So we haven't seen War either. So yeah, well, whatever. Well, anyway,
But War is rated better than the rest of them. Anyways, that's
well, I don't know. I never saw War, so I don't have any opinions on it right now. Maybe if I fall in love with Planet of the Apes again, maybe I'll check that out and before the new one comes out.
the new one comes out on May 8th, so you gotta
I mean,
get some time.
Yeah, I got some time. Yeah. Anyway,
Then again, we still need to see Godzilla X Kong. So
well, yeah, that's gonna be out of theaters before we see it. We have to see it like this
want to
weekend.
do that one too.
All right. If you don't want to be spoiled, if you want to join the conversation for Planet of the Apes from 1968, not the 2001 version, but if you want to watch that, we could make it a 2-parter. And
Yeah.
compare the 2 movies.
Don't watch that one.
No, just watch Planet of the Apes from 1968. If you're feeling sadistic, watch the 2001 movie. I have very vivid memories of hating that movie when I was like 15 years old, so or whatever.
Me
So.
too.
And if you want to check this movie out, it's of course on Amazon, Apple TV, YouTube, etc. Does anyone have any small recommendations for the end of the show? If you have to
don't know.
think, I will start with
Yeah,
the
I know.
Fallout TV show on Amazon
No, I hear.
Prime.
Yeah, I hear that's good.
yeah,
Good.
We are
Great thing.
3 episodes in, and as a person who loves Fallout, It's really good. It's pretty faithful. I really am enjoying it.
Nice.
Where does this take place again? Like I've seen people talk about it, but I didn't actually look for it to see the answer. Where does it take place chronologically in the games?
Oh, Tay, that's a really tough thing to answer. I know it takes. Todd Howard confirmed that it was a part of the timeline, and that everything in the Fallout timeline, including New Vegas,
Yeah,
is in the lore, right?
canon.
Canon.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure
I saw that-
Fallout 76 is first in the chronological order. I believe this show takes place after 4, which is the
Okay.
latest one. I'm pretty sure, but don't quote me on that because I'm not 100% sure because I haven't really been paying attention to that nitty-gritty.
That's
in,
fair.
in all honesty. Because the show has just been good in general. Like, I've watched other shows like the Halo show and even The Last of Us. And this one, I mean, The Last of Us was great. This definitely reaches the heights of The Last of Us and maybe even exceeds it because The Last of Us does have a bit of a crutch of being based on the video game that you've already played, whereas Fallout, the TV show, is, you know, it uses the things from the games that you know and love, like Vault Dwellers and the Brotherhood of Steel and Raiders and Stim Packs and whatever else, and it gives you new characters to immerse and a new like world to immerse yourself into while using all that stuff. So it is very good. It's on Amazon Prime, and like I said, we're about 3 episodes in, and I'm just really loving it so far.
Oh, I do have a recommendation as well for those anime lovers out there. Kaiju number 8 is finally coming out, and it's really good. It's only 2 episodes so far, but if you have Crunchyroll and like anime, make sure you watch Kaiju number 8.
Cool.
I got nothing.
Yeah, I don't really have anything either.
All right. The last small recommendation is be kind to animals. Don't cut open your horses, folks, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not nice.
Or don't, run them off the ledge either.
Yeah, don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you have an open wound, don't be buried alive. Go clean it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't use gunpowder to seal wounds, okay? That's not a good idea.
Go to the hospital.
Yeah,
We
we
have
have
better
technology now. Yeah, medicine technology.
We have the technology. All right. Well, thank you all for listening to this episode. We appreciate it. If you want to rate it on Spotify, we'd appreciate that. You can rate it out of 5 stars, whatever you think. The 5 is the best, though, so make sure you rate it 5. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, leave a review if you want to. That does help the podcast. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you slam a like on it. And maybe even leave a comment or a movie recommendation. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Hey.
I
am YemmytheFerret, and I've been here with
GreedyWaffles.
Taymation.
RaeofPositivity.
And this has been another episode of Film Freakz with a Z. Thank you for listening. Skadoosh.
Bye-bye.
Skadoosh.
Bye.